Fiasco. The vast expanse of space stretched out before Captain Aria Chen as she gazed through the viewscreen of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. Countless stars twinkled against the inky blackness, a sight that never failed to fill her with wonder, even after years of interstellar travel. But today, her attention was fixed on something far more extraordinary, a planet unlike any humanity had ever encountered. Approaching Kepler 186f, Captain, announced navigator Tom Reeves, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Entering standard orbit in 3, 2, 1. The Horizon smoothly decelerated, settling into a stable orbit around the alien world. Kepler 186f hung before them like a jewel, its surface a mesmerizing swirl of deep purples and vibrant greens. Wispy, iridescent clouds drifted across its atmosphere, occasionally parting to reveal glimpses of vast, shimmering oceans. "It's beautiful," breathed Dr. Samira Patel, the ship's exobiologist. Her dark eyes sparkled with excitement as she leaned closer to the console, already analyzing the flood of incoming data. Oxygen levels are within human tolerance. Gravity is 1.1 times Earth normal. And these readings, Captain, I'm detecting complex organic compounds. This planet isn't just habitable, it's teeming with life. Aria nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. After months of travel and years of preparation, they had finally found it. A world that could potentially support human life, far beyond the reaches of their overcrowded solar system. But more than that, they had the unprecedented opportunity to study an alien biosphere, to learn and grow from an entirely new form of life. "All right, team," Aria said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You know the drill. We'll send down automated probes first, gather preliminary data, and then prepare for a manned expedition. Dr. Patel, I want you coordinating with..." She was cut off by a sudden burst of static from the ship's communications array. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. They were far beyond the range of any human transmissions. "What the hell?" muttered Communications Officer Zara Wang, her fingers flying across her console. "Captain, I'm picking up a signal. It's coming from the planet's surface." Aria's eyes widened. "Are you saying there's intelligent life down there? How did we miss that on our long-range scans?" Before anyone could respond, the static cleared, replaced by a series of musical tones and clicks. The sound was unlike anything Aria had ever heard, beautiful and alien in equal measure. Then, to everyone's shock, it shifted, morphing into recognizable words. "Greetings, travelers. We are the Lumina. We welcome you to our world." For a moment, silence reigned on the bridge. Aria found herself gripping the arms of her captain's chair, her mind reeling. First contact. They had just made first contact with an alien civilization. How are they speaking English? Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Patel shook her head in amazement. They must have incredibly advanced translation technology, or perhaps some form of telepathy. The implications are staggering. Aria took a deep breath, steeling herself. This changed everything. Their mission of exploration had just become a diplomatic endeavor of unparalleled importance. The fate of humanity's relationship with its first extraterrestrial intelligence rested on her shoulders. "Open a channel," she ordered, straightening in her chair. "This is Captain Aria Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to learn and share knowledge." There was a moment of silence, then the musical voice returned. "We are pleased to meet you, Captain Aria Chen. Your arrival is fortuitous. We have long awaited contact with other sentient species. Please, join us on the surface. We have much to discuss." Aria exchanged glances with her crew. The invitation was tempting, but also potentially dangerous. They knew nothing about these aliens or their intentions. "We appreciate your invitation," Aria replied carefully. "However, we would like to learn more about your people and your world before we consider a face-to-face meeting." Perhaps we could continue to communicate from orbit. Another pause, longer this time. When the Lumina spoke again, there was a hint of, was that amusement in their tone. We understand your caution, Captain. It is wise to be prudent when facing the unknown. However, we assure you that we mean you no harm. Our world is entering a sacred period, what you might call a planetary hibernation. Soon, most of our kind will enter a deep sleep, communing with the energies of our world. We would very much like to meet with you before this occurs. Dr. Potel leaned close to Arya, whispering excitedly. Captain, this could be an unprecedented opportunity to study an alien species during a crucial biological event. We can't pass this up. Arya nodded slowly, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Her training and instincts urged caution, but the scientist in her longed to seize its chance. Finally, she made her decision. Very well, she said. We accept your invitation. Please provide coordinates for a suitable landing site. As the Lumina transmitted the necessary data, Arya turned to her crew. All right, people. This is what we've trained for. Dr. Patel, you're with me. Lieutenant Kumar, assemble a security team. Full environmental suits until we confirm the atmosphere is safe. We launch in 1 hour. The next 60 minutes were a whirlwind of activity. As the chosen team prepared for their descent, Arya couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Something about this situation felt off, but she couldn't put a finger on what. Still, the opportunity was too great to pass up. They would just have to be extra vigilant. Finally, Arya found herself strapped into the shuttle, her heart pounding as they detached from the horizon. Through the viewscreen, she watched Kepler 186 grow larger, its alien landscape coming into breathtaking focus. They pierced the iridescent clouds, emerging over a vista that defied description. Vast forests of what looked like crystalline trees stretched to the horizon, their branches swaying in a breeze they couldn't yet feel. In the distance, a city rose, if you could call it that. It was more like a living sculpture, towers of light and color twisting impossibly into the sky. My God, breathed Dr. Patel beside her. It's incredible. The shuttle touched down in a clearing near the edge of the crystal forest. As the engines powered down, Arya took a deep breath, centering herself. This was it, the moment that would change the course of human history forever. Remember, she said to her team as they prepared to disembark, we're ambassadors for our entire species now. Let's make humanity proud. The shuttle's door hissed open, and Arya stepped out onto the alien soil. The gravity tugged at her slightly harder than she was used to, but it was manageable. She glanced at her suit's readings. The atmosphere was indeed breathable, though with a slightly higher oxygen content than Earth. Still, she wasn't ready to remove her helmet just yet. And then she saw them. The Lumina emerged from the crystal forest, gliding towards the human delegation with ethereal grace. They were tall, easily 7 feet in height, with slender, elongated limbs. Their skin seemed to shimmer and shift, sometimes appearing translucent, other times reflecting the colors around them like living opals. But it was their eyes that truly captured Arya's attention, large, luminous orbs that seemed to contain entire galaxies within their depths. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising a hand in what Arya hoped was a gesture of greeting. When it spoke, she could hear the words both through her suit's speakers and directly in her mind, a strange double sensation. Welcome, friends from beyond the stars. I am Zephyr, speaker for the Lumina. We are overjoyed to meet you at last. Arya stepped forward, mirroring the alien's gesture. Greetings, Zephyr. I am Captain Arya Chen of Earth. We are honored to be here and eager to learn about your people and your world. Zephyr's head tilted slightly, those mesmerizing eyes studying Arya intently. Your journey must have been long and arduous. Please come. We have prepared a place for you to rest and refresh yourselves. There will be time for questions and answers soon enough. As they followed the Lumina towards the twisting spires of the city, Arya couldn't shake her earlier sense of unease. Everything seemed perfect, too perfect. The Lumina were unfailingly polite and accommodating, answering their initial questions with patience and apparent openness. Yet there was something in their manner, a sort of knowing amusement, that made Aria feel like she was missing some crucial piece of information. They were led to a structure that seemed to grow out of the ground itself, its walls pulsing with soft, bioluminescent light. Inside, they found comfortable accommodations that, while alien in design, had clearly been adapted for human physiology. "Please make yourselves at home," Zephyr said. "When you are ready, join us in the central chamber. We have much to discuss, especially given the timing of your arrival." As the Lumina glided away, Aria turned to her team. "Thoughts?" Dr. Patel was practically vibrating with excitement. "Captain, this is beyond our wildest dreams. Their technology, their biology, it's so far advanced. Think of what we could learn." Lieutenant Kumar, however, shared Aria's cautious outlook. "It all seems a bit too convenient, doesn't it? They just happen to speak our language, have rooms ready for us. I don't like it." Aria nodded slowly. "I agree. Something doesn't add up. But we're here now, and we have a job to do. Let's proceed carefully, keep our eyes open, and try to get some answers. Dr. Potel, I want you focused on understanding their biology, especially this planetary hibernation they mentioned. Lieutenant, stay alert for any potential threats." As they made their way to the central chamber, Aria couldn't help but feel that they were walking into something far more complex than a simple first contact scenario. Little did she know just how right she was, and how unprepared they all were for the cosmic misunderstanding that was about to unfold. Cultural clashes and cosmic confusion. The central chamber of the lunar structure was a marvel of alien architecture. Its walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with soft bioluminescence that shifted in hue with each passing moment. The ceiling arched high above them, a dome of what appeared to be living crystal that refracted the light in mesmerizing patterns. At the center of the room stood a large, circular platform surrounded by elegant, organic-looking seats. As Captain Aria Chen and her team entered, they found several Lumina already waiting for them. Zephyr, their initial contact, glided forward to greet them. "Welcome, friends," Zephyr said, those galaxy-filled eyes twinkling with what Aria could only interpret as excitement. "We hope you find your accommodations satisfactory. Please be seated. We have much to discuss." The humans took their places, marveling at how the seats seemed to mold themselves to their bodies, providing perfect support despite being designed for a very different physiology. Aria noticed Dr. Patel discreetly running her handheld scanner over everything, her face a mask of scientific wonder. "We appreciate your hospitality," Aria began, choosing her words carefully. "As I mentioned earlier, we come seeking knowledge and friendship. We're eager to learn about your people, your culture, and this remarkable world of yours." Zephyr's skin rippled with colors that reminded Aria of a sunrise on Earth. "And we are equally eager to learn of you, Captain. Your arrival is most fortuitous, coming as it does on the eve of our great communion." "The planetary hibernation you mentioned earlier?" Dr. Patel chimed in, unable to contain her curiosity any longer. "Indeed," another Lumina answered. This one had introduced itself as Aura, and its form seemed to shimmer with deeper, more intense colors and zephyrs. "The Great Communion is a sacred time for our people. It is when we renew our connection to our world and to each other." Lieutenant Kumar leaned forward slightly, his security training evident in his attentive posture. "And what exactly does this communion entail?" The Lumina exchanged glances, a ripple of color passing between them that Aria couldn't interpret. Finally, Zephyr spoke. "The Great Communion is difficult to explain in terms your species might understand. It is a merging of minds and energies, a time when we shed our individual forms and become one with the planet itself. For many cycles, we sleep, dream, and evolve." Dr. Patel's eyes were wide with fascination. Incredible. A species-wide hibernation coupled with some form of psychic link. The scientific implications are staggering. Aria nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were still missing something crucial. This communion sounds like a deeply important event for your people. I hope our presence isn't an intrusion. On the contrary, Aura said, its colors intensifying. Your arrival is most welcome. In fact, we had hoped. Aura trailed off, looking to Zephyr. The two lumina seemed to have a silent conversation, colors flowing between them in complex patterns. Aria felt her unease growing. What weren't they saying? Hoped for what? She prompted gently. Zephyr turned back to the humans, its expression unreadable. Captain Chen, we must confess that we have not been entirely forthcoming with you. The truth is, we have been aware of your species for some time. A jolt of surprise ran through the human delegation. Aria tensed, her mind racing. Had Earth's transmissions reached this far, or had the Lumina been observing them secretly? You've known about us, Lieutenant Kumar asked, his hand instinctively moving closer to his sidearm. For how long? For many of your Earth years, Zephyr replied calmly. We have observed your transmissions, studied your languages and cultures from afar. We have watched your species grow and evolve, marveling at your resilience and creativity. Aria's diplomatic training kicked in, helping her maintain a composed exterior despite her inner turmoil. I see. And you chose not to make contact until now. Aura's colors swirled in what might have been embarrassment. We were uncertain. Your species is young, volatile. We feared that premature contact might do more harm than good. But now what? Dr. Patel asked, leaning forward eagerly. Zephyr's voice took on a more serious tone. Now we find ourselves at a crossroads. The Great Communion approaches, but this cycle is different. Our world is changing, Captain Chen. The delicate balance we have maintained for eons is shifting. We fear that if we enter the communion as we are now, we may not emerge the same. Aria felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying exactly? We are saying, Captain, that we need your help, Zephyr said, its eyes seeming to bore into Aria's very soul. We believe that your species, with its unique adaptability and innovative spirit, may hold the key to our survival. The chamber fell silent as the implications of Zephyr's words sank in. Aria's mind was reeling. They had come here expecting to be the ones seeking knowledge and assistance, and now these advanced aliens were asking for their help. I'm not sure I understand, Aria said slowly. How exactly do you think we can help you? Aura stepped forward, its colors pulsing with intensity. Your genetic diversity, your ability to adapt to extreme environments, your knack for finding unconventional solutions. These are qualities our species once possessed but has lost over millennia of stability. We believe that by integrating some of your traits into our own, we might weather the changes our world is undergoing. Dr. Patel gasped. Are you proposing some kind of genetic exchange? The Lumina exchanged glances again before Zephyr answered. In a manner of speaking, yes. Though it would be more accurate to say we are proposing a merging of energies, a sharing of essence that goes beyond mere physical genetics. Lieutenant Kumar stood up abruptly. Now wait just a minute. You're talking about experimenting on us. No, Zephyr said quickly, raising its hands in a placating gesture. We would never propose anything non-consensual. We merely wish to commune with a select few of your kind during our great communion, to allow your essence to mingle with ours as we dream and evolve. Aria's head was spinning. This was far beyond anything they had been prepared for. The potential benefits of such an exchange were enormous. Humanity could leap forward centuries in understanding and technology. But the risks were equally staggering. I appreciate your directness, Aria said carefully, but you must understand that this is not a decision I can make unilaterally. We would need to consult with our leaders, conduct extensive research. I'm afraid time is not on our side, Captain. Aura interrupted, its colors darkening. The Great Communion begins soon. If we do not act now, the opportunity will be lost. Aria felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The fate of an entire species, possibly two, hung in the balance. She needed more information, more time to think. "Can you tell us more about these changes your world is undergoing?" she asked, "and why you believe our essence could help?" Zephyr nodded, its form seeming to grow more translucent. "Our world moves through great cycles, Captain. For eons, we have lived in harmony with these cycles, adapting and evolving as needed. But the current shift is more extreme than any in our recorded history. Our atmosphere is changing, our magnetic field weakening. The very energy that sustains us is growing unstable." Dr. Patel's scientific curiosity was clearly warring with her ethical concerns. "And you think human adaptability could help you survive these changes?" "We do," Aura confirmed. "Your species has shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. You adapt not just biologically, but technologically and culturally as well. These are traits we desperately need." Arya stood up, pacing the chamber as she tried to process everything. The Lumina watched her silently, their colors shifting in patterns she couldn't begin to interpret. "Even if we were inclined to help," she said finally, "how can we be sure this process is safe for either species?" Zephyr's voice was gentle, almost hypnotic. "We understand your concerns, Captain. Perhaps it would be easier if we showed you." Before Arya could ask what Zephyr meant, the chamber around them began to change. The walls seemed to melt away, replaced by swirling visions of stars and planets. Arya felt a tugging sensation, as if her very consciousness was being pulled from her body. "What's happening?" she heard Lieutenant Kumar shout, his voice sounding distant and echoing. "Do not be afraid," Zephyr's voice resonated in her mind. "We are simply giving you a glimpse of what the communion is like. Open your minds, and you will understand." As the physical world faded away, Arya found herself floating in a sea of pure energy and thought. She could feel the presence of her team around her, the confusion and wonder mirroring her own. And beyond them, vast and ancient, she sensed the collective consciousness of the Lumina. In that moment of connection, Arya understood. She saw the history of the Lumina race, their triumphs and struggles, their hopes and fears. She felt the looming threat to their world, the desperate need for change and adaptation. And she realized, with a clarity that transcended words, that the Lumina's request was both simpler and more complex than they had initially presented. This wasn't just about genetics or technology. It was about the very essence of what made humanity unique, their spirit, their drive, their capacity for growth and change. As quickly as it had begun, the vision faded. Arya found herself back in the chamber, gasping for breath. Her team looked equally shaken, their eyes wide with awe and confusion. Zephyr stepped forward, its colors pulsing gently. "Now you understand, Captain Chen. We do not ask for your bodies or your technology. We ask for your spirit, your essence. Will you help us?" Arya looked at her team, seeing the mix of fear, wonder, and determination on their faces. She knew that whatever decision they made here would change the course of both their species forever. With a deep breath, she turned back to the Lumina. "We understand better now. Thank you. But this is still an enormous decision, with implications we can't fully grasp. We need time to discuss, to consider all the ramifications." Aura's colors darkened slightly. Time, I'm afraid, is the one thing we do not have in abundance. The Great Communion approaches, and with it, the chance to save our people. Arya nodded, her mind racing. "Give us one planetary rotation," she said firmly. "Let us return to our ship, confer with our superiors, and fully consider your proposal. We owe you, and ourselves, that much." The Lumina conferred silently for a moment before Zephyr spoke. "Very well, Captain, one rotation. But please understand, the fate of our world hangs in the balance. We eagerly await your decision." As Arya and her team prepared to return to the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of the Lumina, but potentially the future of humanity's place in the cosmos. Little did they know, The true nature of the communion and the cosmic misunderstanding it would lead to were yet to be revealed. Unraveling alien biology. The shuttle ride back to the horizon was tense and quiet. Each member of the away team was lost in their own thoughts, trying to process the incredible experience they had just been through. As they docked with the ship, Captain Arya Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for the difficult conversations ahead. All senior staff to the conference room in 10 minutes, she announced over the ship's comm system as they disembarked. We have a lot to discuss. Soon, Arya found herself at the head of the conference table, surrounded by her top officers and scientists. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of excitement, anxiety, and disbelief. "All right," Arya began, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. "I know we've all just been through something extraordinary. Dr. Patel, let's start with you. What can you tell us about the luminous biology based on your scans and observations?" Dr. Samara Patel activated the room's holographic display, bringing up a three-dimensional image of a lumina. "They're unlike anything we've ever encountered," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Their cellular structure is, well, it's hard to even call them cells in the way we understand them. It's more like a network of energy conduits that somehow maintain a physical form." The image zoomed in, showing the intricate, almost fractal-like patterns that made up the lumina's internal structure. "Their ability to change color isn't just superficial," Dr. Patel continued. "It seems to be a fundamental part of their communication and possibly even their thought processes. But here's the really interesting part. Their entire biology seems to be in a state of constant flux, as if they're perpetually on the verge of changing into something else." Lieutenant Kumar leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Could this be related to the planetary changes they mentioned? Some kind of evolutionary response? Dr. Patel nodded enthusiastically. "That's my theory. It's as if their entire species is poised for a massive evolutionary leap, but they're stuck somehow. They can't quite make the transition on their own." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. "And they think we can help them do it. But how? And more importantly, should we?" The room fell silent for a moment before Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka spoke up. "Captain, from what I've seen of their technology, the Lumina are centuries, maybe even millennia ahead of us. The fact that they're asking for our help, it doesn't make sense. Unless what?" Arya prompted. Yuki's eyes were intense as she continued. "Unless what they need isn't our technology or even our genetics, but something more intangible, something uniquely human." Dr. Patel's eyes widened. "Our adaptability, our creativity, our drive to overcome obstacles. These are all traits that can't be easily quantified or transferred through normal means." Arya nodded slowly, remembering the strange vision the Lumina had shared with them. "They said they wanted our essence, our spirit. I think you're onto something." "But how would that even work?" Lieutenant Kumar asked, skepticism clear in his voice. "Are we talking about some kind of, soul transfer?" "Not exactly," a new voice chimed in. Everyone turned to look at Ensign Zara Wong, the young communications officer who had been unusually quiet until now. She blushed slightly under the attention but continued. "I've been analyzing the language patterns of the Lumina, both verbal and non-verbal. There's something musical about it, almost mathematical. I think their consciousness might operate on a quantum level." Dr. Patel's eyes lit up. Of course, that would explain their ability to share thoughts and experiences so directly. They're not just communicating, they're entangling their quantum states. Arya held up a hand, feeling slightly overwhelmed. "Let's slow down for a moment. Are you saying that when they talk about this communion, they're actually proposing some kind of quantum entanglement with our consciousness?" "It's possible," Dr. Patel said, her excitement tempered by the gravity of the situation. "But the implications are staggering. We have no idea how such a process might affect human consciousness. The risk of losing oneself entirely is very real." Lieutenant Kumar stood up abruptly. "This is insane. We can't seriously be considering this. Captain, We should leave immediately. Who knows what their true intentions are? Aria understood his concern, but something held her back from agreeing. The desperation she had sensed from the Lumina felt genuine, and the potential benefits of such an exchange, if it could be done safely, were too great to ignore. "I understand your reservations, Lieutenant," she said carefully, "but we can't make this decision based on fear. We need more information." She turned to Dr. Patel. "Is there any way we can test this process on a smaller scale? Perhaps entangle with something simpler first to see how it works?" Dr. Patel thought for a moment, then nodded slowly. "It might be possible. If we could isolate a small portion of luminous cellular material and attempt to entangle it with, say, a simple Earth organism, a plant maybe, it could give us valuable data on the process without risking human consciousness." Arya nodded. "Make it happen. Yuki, I want you working with Dr. Patel. See if you can rig up some kind of monitoring system to track the quantum states during the experiment. Ensign Wong, continue your linguistic analysis. If this is all based on some kind of quantum language, understanding it could be crucial." As her crew set to work, Arya felt the weight of command pressing down on her. The fate of 2 species could hinge on the decisions she made in the next few hours. She needed to be certain they understood exactly what they were dealing with before making any commitments. "Lieutenant Kumar," she said, turning to her security chief, "I want you to prepare a series of worst-case scenario protocols. If something goes wrong, if we need to extract our people quickly or defend ourselves, I need options." Kumar nodded grimly. "Understood, Captain. I'll have contingencies ready within the hour." As the meeting adjourned and her crew dispersed to their tasks, Arya remained in the conference room, staring out at the swirling, alien beauty of Kepler 186f. The luminous world was facing a crisis, one that could potentially be solved by humanity's unique traits. But at what cost? And could they trust that the Lumina were being entirely truthful about their intentions? She couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial, some key piece of information that would make everything clear. As the hours ticked by and the deadline for their decision approached, Arya found herself torn between the incredible opportunity for advancement and the very real dangers they faced. Little did she know the true nature of the Lumina's request, and the cosmic misunderstanding at its heart was about to reveal itself in a way none of them could have anticipated. In the ship's laboratory, Dr. Patel and Chief Engineer Tanaka worked feverishly to set up their experiment. A small sample of luminous cellular material, willingly provided by their hosts, pulsed gently in a containment field. Beside it, a small earth plant, a simple fern, sat in its own protected environment. "Quantum entanglement matrix online," Yuki announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Ready when you are, Doctor." Samara took a deep breath, double-checking all her readings. "All right. Initiating entanglement in 3, 2, 1. A soft hum filled the lab as energy began to flow between the 2 specimens. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, impossibly, the fern began to shimmer, its leaves taking on the opalescent quality of luminous skin. "My God," Samara breathed. "It's working. The plant's quantum state is aligning with the Lumina sample. But look, the Lumina material is changing too." Indeed, the alien cellular structure was shifting, taking on more defined boundaries, becoming almost plant-like in its organization. As they watched in awe, the 2 specimens continued to change, meeting somewhere in the middle, neither fully Earth nor fully Lumina, but something entirely new. "This is incredible," Yuki said, her eyes wide as she monitored the energy readings. "The exchange of information, of traits, it's happening on a fundamental level. It's not just genetics, it's essence." Samara finished for her. "Just like they said, we're witnessing the transfer of the very essence of what makes each life form unique." As the experiment continued, neither of them noticed the small alert flashing on one of the secondary monitors, a warning that, if heeded, might have prepared them for the shock that was to come. Back on the planet's surface, Zephyr and Aura stood in their central chamber, their colors flowing in patterns of anticipation and concern. "They are beginning to understand," Zephyr said, its voice a melody of hope and trepidation. "But will they comprehend in time?" Aura's form shimmered with uncertainty. "We have revealed much, but not all. The true nature of the communion, the real reason we need their essence, it may be too much for them to accept." "We have no choice," Zephyr replied firmly. "The cycle is upon us. If we do not complete the communion with new input, with the spark of their human fire, our entire civilization may be lost. We must trust that they will understand, that they will see the beauty in what we offer in return." As the two Lumina communed, the very fabric of their world seemed to pulse around them. The great change was coming, ready or not. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of their two species, but the very nature of life and consciousness in this corner of the galaxy. And aboard the horizon, blissfully unaware of the true magnitude of what was to come, Captain Arya Chen prepared to make a decision that would alter the course of human history forever. The galactic misunderstanding. Captain Arya Chen stood at the viewport in her ready room, gazing down at the shimmering surface of Kepler 186f. The beauty of the alien world was marred only by the weight of the decision that loomed before her. In just a few short hours, she would have to give the Lumina an answer, one that could change the course of two civilizations forever. A chime at her door broke her reverie. "Enter," she called, turning to see Dr. Patel and Chief Engineer Tanaka rush in, their faces flushed with excitement and a hint of fear. "Captain," Dr. Patel began, slightly out of breath, "you need to see this immediately." Arya's brow furrowed as she took in their expressions. "What's happened?" Yuki activated the room's holographic display, bringing up a series of complex readings and images. "Our experiment with the Lumina cellular sample and the Earth plant, it worked. But the results are, well, they're beyond anything we could have imagined." The display showed a time-lapse of their experiment. Arya watched in amazement as the fern and the Lumina sample merged, twisted, and transformed into something entirely new. "At first, we thought it was a simple exchange of traits," Dr. Patel explained, her voice filled with wonder. "But it's so much more than that. The two specimens didn't just share characteristics, they fundamentally changed each other on a quantum level." Yuki nodded, her eyes intense. "Captain, we think we've stumbled upon the true nature of the Lumina's communion. It's not just a sharing of consciousness, or even a species-wide evolution. It's a complete reimagining of what life can be." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. "Explain." Dr. Patel took a deep breath. "The Lumina aren't just looking to adapt to the changes in their world. They're trying to transcend their current form of existence entirely, and they need our human fire, as they call it, to catalyze the process." "But why us?" Arya asked, her mind reeling. "Why humanity specifically?" "Because we're unpredictable," Yuki said softly. "Our history, our adaptability, our constant drive for change and growth, it's all fuel for their transformation. They've been stable for so long that they need an outside force to jumpstart their evolution." Arya paced the room, trying to process the implications. "So when they asked for our essence, they weren't speaking metaphorically. They literally want to merge with us on a fundamental level." "Yes," Dr. Patel confirmed. "But Captain, there's more. Our analysis shows that this process, it's not one way. Any humans who participate would be changed just as profoundly as the Lumina." The weight of this revelation settled heavily on Arya's shoulders. This wasn't just first contact anymore. It was the potential birth of an entirely new form of life, one that blended humanity and Lumina into something unprecedented. Before she could respond, the ship's comm system crackled to life. "Captain, to the bridge immediately." Lieutenant Kumar's voice was tense, urgent. Arya exchanged glances with her two officers before rushing to the bridge, Dr. Patel and Yuki close behind. As they entered, they found the viewscreen filled with a mesmerizing, terrifying sight. The surface of Kepler 186 was alive with swirling, pulsating energy. Massive tendrils of light reached up from the planet, twisting and curling in complex patterns. "What are we looking at?" Arya demanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Ensign Wong, her eyes wide with awe, responded, It started a few minutes ago, Captain. The energy readings are off the charts. I think the communion is beginning." As they watched, a communication request flashed on the main console. Arya nodded to Wong, who accepted the transmission. Zephyr's form appeared on the screen, its colors shifting more rapidly than they had ever seen before. "Captain Chen," it said, its voice resonating with an otherworldly harmony. "The time has come. We can wait no longer. Please, you must make your decision now." Arya felt the eyes of her entire crew upon her. The fate of two species hung in the balance. With a deep breath, she stepped forward. "Zephyr," she began, her voice steadier than she felt, "we've made some discoveries about the nature of your communion. I think there's been a misunderstanding between us." Zephyr's form pulsed with what might have been surprise. "A misunderstanding? Please explain." Arya gestured to Dr. Petal, who quickly summarized their findings from the experiment. As she spoke, Zephyr's colors shifted in complex patterns, rippling with what seemed to be a mix of excitement and concern. "You are more perceptive than we anticipated," Zephyr said when Dr. Petal had finished. "Yes, the communion is indeed a transformation beyond what we initially described. We feared that explaining its true nature might frighten you away." "And you didn't think we deserved to know the full truth?" Arya asked, a hint of anger creeping into her voice. "That anyone who participates in this communion would be fundamentally changed, perhaps even cease to exist as they currently are." Zephyr's form shimmered with what might have been regret. "We underestimated you, Captain. We have observed humanity for so long, seen your conflicts and fears. We worried that if we revealed the full scope of the communion, you'd reject it outright." Arya shook her head, frustration warring with understanding. "Zephyr, trust and honesty are crucial for any meaningful relationship between our species. This deception, no matter how well-intentioned, has put that trust at risk." "We understand, Captain," Zephyr replied, its voice carrying a new note of humility. "And we apologize. But please understand, the communion is not just about our survival. It is an opportunity for both our species to transcend our current limitations, to evolve into something greater than either of us could become alone." As Zephyr spoke, the energy tendrils on the planet's surface grew more intense, reaching higher into the atmosphere. Alarms began to sound on the horizon's bridge. "Captain," Yuki called out, her fingers flying over her console, "the energy buildup is becoming unstable. If it continues at this rate, it could tear the planet apart." Arya's mind raced. The situation was spiraling out of control. They had come here seeking knowledge and friendship, and now found themselves on the brink of either witnessing the birth of a new form of life or the destruction of an entire world. "Zephyr," she said, her voice filled with urgency, "is there any way to stabilize the communion process without human participation?" The luminous form flickered, its colors darkening. I do not know, Captain. We have prepared for this moment for so long, focused all our energy on this transformation. To stop now, I fear the consequences would be catastrophic." Arya closed her eyes for a moment, weighing the impossible choices before her. When she opened them, her gaze was steel. "I can't make this decision for my entire species," she said firmly. "But I also can't stand by and watch your world tear itself apart. So I'm offering you this. I will participate in your communion to help stabilize the process. But only me. The rest of my crew will remain safely aboard the Horizon." A chorus of protests erupted from her officers, but Arya held up a hand to silence them. "This is my decision," she said, her voice brooking no argument. "The potential benefits to both our species are too great to ignore. And the risks," she paused, looking each of her crew members in the eye, "the risks are ones I'm willing to take." Zephyr's form pulsed with a mix of relief and concern. "You are brave, Captain Chen. We accept your offer with gratitude and hope." As Arya prepared to transport down to the planet's surface, the full weight of what she was about to do settled upon her. She was about to leap into the unknown, to merge her very essence with an alien species in a process that might fundamentally change who and what she was. But as she looked out at the swirling energy engulfing Kepler 186f, she knew she had made the right choice. This was why she had joined Starfleet, why she had ventured out into the cosmos, to explore, to learn, and to push the boundaries of what was possible. With a final nod to her crew, Captain Arya Chen stepped onto the transporter pad, ready to embrace a new form of existence and bridge the gap between two civilizations. As the transporter beam engulfed her, she couldn't help but wonder, what new form of life would emerge from this communion, and what would it mean for the future of both humanity and the Lumina? The answer to that question would reshape the galaxy in ways none of them could have imagined. Humanity's diplomatic dance. The moment Captain Arya Chen materialized on the surface of Kepler 186f, she knew there was no turning back. The air around her crackled with energy, and the ground beneath her feet pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. Zephyr and several other Lumina were waiting for her, their forms shimmering with anticipation and what Arya thought might be nervousness. "Welcome, Captain," Zephyr said, its voice a harmonious blend of tones that seemed to resonate with the energy surrounding them. "Are you prepared for what is to come?" Arya took a deep breath, steeling herself. "As ready as I'll ever be. What do I need to do?" Zephyr gestured towards a large, crystalline structure at the center of a vast plaza. "The Nexus awaits. It is there that you will join the communion and help guide our transformation." As they approached the Nexus, Arya couldn't help but marvel at its beauty. The crystal seemed alive, pulsing with inner light and shifting colors that mirrored the swirling energy in the sky above. She could feel a pull from it, as if it were calling to something deep within her. "Before we begin," Zephyr said, pausing at the base of the structure, "there is something you should know. The communion, it is not just about merging our essences or evolving our forms. It is about redefining the very nature of consciousness itself." Arya's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Zephyr's colors shifted to deep, contemplative hues. "For eons, our species has existed as individual beings, separate from one another and from our world. But we have long sensed that there is something more, a higher state of existence where the boundaries between self and other, between consciousness and reality, begin to blur. And do you think this communion will help you achieve that state?" Arya asked, her scientific curiosity warring with a growing sense of awe and trepidation. "We hope so," Zephyr replied. "But to do so, we need the spark of human fire, your creativity, your adaptability, your unique way of perceiving the universe. It is our belief that by merging our essences, we can catalyze a transformation that will elevate both our species to a new plane of existence." Arya nodded slowly, the full weight of what she was about to do settling upon her. This wasn't just about saving the Lumina or gaining new knowledge for humanity. It was about potentially redefining the very nature of life and consciousness in the universe. "I understand," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil of emotions within her. "Let's begin." With a gesture from Zephyr, the crystal nexus began to open, revealing a swirling vortex of energy at its core. Arya felt herself being drawn towards it, every cell in her body resonating with its pulsing rhythm. As she stepped into the vortex, Arya's last conscious thought was of her crew aboard the Horizon, watching and waiting. Then, everything dissolved into light and sensation. Aboard the Horizon, the bridge crew watched in tense silence as Captain Chen's life signs fluctuated wildly on their monitors. The energy readings from the planet's surface were off the charts, and the swirling vortex in the atmosphere had grown to encompass nearly half the planet. "We should be down there with her," Lieutenant Kumar said, his fists clenched at his sides. Dr. Pertel shook her head, her eyes never leaving the sensor readings. "We don't know what effect multiple human consciousnesses would have on the process. The captain made the right call." Suddenly, alarms began blaring across the bridge. "Energy spike." Ensign Wang called out, her fingers flying over her console. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. On the view screen, they watched in awe and terror as a blinding flash of light engulfed the planet. For a moment, it seemed as if Kepler 186 itself had transformed into a star. Then, just as suddenly, the light faded, revealing a world transformed. The swirling vortex was gone, replaced by a shimmering, opalescent field that enveloped the entire planet. The continents and oceans had shifted, forming new patterns that pulsed with inner light. Captain Chen's life signs. Dr. Potel's voice trailed off, her eyes wide with disbelief. They're everywhere. It's as if she's become part of the planet itself. Before anyone could respond, a new signal came through their communication systems. It was unlike anything they had encountered before, not audio or video, but a direct transmission of thought and emotion. We are here. The message resonated in their minds, a chorus of voices that somehow included the familiar tones of Captain Chen. We are changed. We are one. The bridge crew exchanged bewildered glances. Captain, Lieutenant Kumar ventured, "Is that you?" "I am Aria, and I am Lumina. I am the planet and the sky. We are all and we are one." The response came not in words, but in a flood of images and sensations that left the crew reeling. Dr. Patel was the first to recover. "Fascinating," she breathed. "It seems the communion has resulted in some kind of planetary consciousness. A merging of all Lumina minds, with Captain Chen as a bridge between our species." "Yes," came the response. "We have transcended our former limitations. We exist now as a unified field of consciousness, with the ability to manifest in individual forms when needed, and we have much to share." What followed was a download of information so vast and complex that it threatened to overwhelm the Horizon's computer systems. Glimpses of advanced technologies, profound philosophical insights, and scientific knowledge beyond humanity's wildest dreams flowed into their databases. As the initial shock wore off, the implications of what had occurred began to sink in. This wasn't just first contact anymore. It was the birth of an entirely new form of life, one that blended human and Lumina traits into something unprecedented. "We need to contact Earth immediately," Lieutenant Kumar said, his voice tight with urgency. "They need to know what's happened here." Dr. Patel nodded in agreement, but her eyes were shining with excitement. "This changes everything. The philosophical, scientific, and technological implications. It's beyond anything we could have imagined." As the crew of the Horizon scrambled to process what had occurred and relay the information back to Earth, they knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The merging of human and Lumina consciousness had opened up new possibilities for life and existence itself. But with those possibilities came new challenges and responsibilities. How would Earth and the rest of humanity react to this transformation? What would it mean for the future of both species? And what other wonders, or dangers, might be waiting for them among the stars? As the Horizon maintained its orbit around the transformed Kepler 186 F, the crew knew that they were witnessing the dawn of a new era in galactic history. An era that would be shaped by the unprecedented union of two very different species and the cosmic dance of diplomacy that would follow. The journey that had begun with a simple mission of exploration had become something far greater, a leap into a future where the very definition of life and consciousness was being rewritten, and humanity, for better or worse, was now at the center of it all. A new era of interstellar cooperation. The news of what had transpired on Kepler 186 as spread across Earth and its colonies like wildfire. The transformation of Captain Aria Chen and the Lumina into a new form of planetary consciousness sent shockwaves through every level of human society. Scientists, philosophers, religious leaders, and politicians all scrambled to understand and respond to this unprecedented event. In the months that followed, the Horizon remained in orbit around the transformed world, serving as a bridge between the new Lunar Chen entity and the rest of humanity. The ship's crew worked tirelessly to process and transmit the vast amounts of information flowing from the planet, while also managing the stream of dignitaries, scientists, and diplomats that began arriving from Earth. Dr. Samira Patel found herself at the forefront of efforts to understand the new life form. Her days were filled with analyzing data, conducting experiments, and engaging in profound conversations with a consciousness that was part Arya, part Lumina, and something entirely new. The implications are staggering, she explained during a high-level briefing with Earth's leaders. This new entity exists as a field of conscious energy that permeates the entire planet. It can manifest individual forms at will, manipulate matter on a quantum level, and access knowledge and memories from both human and Lumina history. The holographic faces of world leaders looked both awed and concerned. "And what of Captain Chen?" one of them asked. "Is she still in there?" Dr. Patel nodded. "In a sense, yes. Arya's consciousness is an integral part of the new entity. She retains her memories and much of her personality, but she's also so much more now. It's like, imagine if a single cell in your body suddenly gained awareness of the entire organism, while still maintaining its individual identity." As the scientific community grappled with the implications, diplomats and politicians faced the monumental task of establishing relations with this new form of life. Traditional concepts of borders, treaties, and cultural exchange had to be completely reimagined. Lieutenant Raj Kumar, who had initially been the most skeptical of the Lumina's intentions, found himself heading up the security and diplomatic efforts. "We're dealing with an entity that can reshape matter with a thought," he explained to his team. "Our traditional concepts of defense and security are meaningless here. We need to focus on building trust and mutual understanding." The Lumina Chen entity, for its part, seemed eager to share its knowledge and abilities with humanity. "We have glimpsed realities beyond your imagining," it communicated, "but we are also still learning, still growing. There is much we can teach each other." As the months turned into years, the impact of the Kepler 186 event rippled across human civilization. The advanced technologies shared by the Lumina Chen entity revolutionized fields from energy production to medicine. The philosophical insights into the nature of consciousness and reality sparked a renaissance in human thought and spirituality. But not everyone welcomed these changes. Some feared that humanity was losing its identity, becoming too dependent on alien knowledge. Others worried about the potential dangers of the immense power wielded by the Lumina Chen entity. Protest movements arose, calling for a halt to all interaction with Kepler 186f. Ensign Zara Wong, whose linguistic skills had proven crucial in the early days of contact, found herself becoming an unexpected voice of reason in these debates. "Yes, we're changing," she argued in a widely broadcast interview. "But change is what humanity does best. We've always adapted, always pushed forward. This is just the next step in our evolution as a species." As the 5th anniversary of the Kepler 186 event approached, humanity stood at a crossroads. The knowledge gained from the Lumina Chen entity had brought them to the cusp of becoming a true interstellar civilization. Prototype ships capable of faster-than-light travel were under construction, promising to open up the galaxy for exploration. But with this promise came a heavy responsibility. Humanity now knew it wasn't alone in the universe, and that life could exist in forms they had never imagined. How would they approach future first contact scenarios? What role would they play in the galactic community? On the eve of the anniversary, the Lumina Chen entity reached out with an unexpected proposal. "We have learned much from our union," it communicated, "but we sense that there are other consciousnesses out there among the stars, waiting to be discovered. We propose a joint mission of exploration, human and Lumina together, to seek out new life and new civilizations." The proposal sparked intense debate back on Earth. Some saw it as an incredible opportunity, a chance to explore the cosmos with an ally of unprecedented power and knowledge. Others feared it would lead to further dilution of human identity or potentially spark conflicts with other alien races. In the end, the decision fell to the newly formed United Earth Council. After days of heated discussion, they reached a consensus. Humanity would accept the Lumina Chen entity's proposal, but with conditions. A new type of ship would be constructed, capable of hosting both human crew and manifestations of the Lumina Chen consciousness. Safeguards would be put in place to ensure that humanity retained its autonomy while still benefiting from the partnership. As the announcement was made, cheers erupted in cities across Earth and its colonies. For many, it felt like the dawn of a new age of discovery and cooperation. Aboard the Horizon, still orbiting Kepler 186, after all these years, the original crew gathered to watch the announcement. Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Kumar, Ensign Wong, and Chief Engineer Tanaka stood together, their faces reflecting a mix of emotions. "I still can't quite believe how much has changed," Yuki said softly. "All because of one mission, one decision." Reg nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Arya would be proud, I think, whatever she is now." As if in response, they felt a warm presence in their minds. "Ion here," came the familiar yet transformed voice of their former captain. "And yes, I am proud of all of you, of humanity. We stand on the brink of a grand adventure, one that will reshape the very fabric of the cosmos." The crew of the Horizon shared a smile, feeling the weight of the moment. They had started this journey as explorers and scientists, seeking out new life among the stars. Now they stood as the bridge between humanity and a new form of existence, poised to embark on an even greater adventure. As they looked out at the shimmering surface of Kepler 186f, each of them knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy awaited, filled with wonders and challenges they could scarcely imagine, and humanity, changed but undaunted, was ready to face it all. The cosmic misunderstanding that had brought them to this point had evolved into something profound, a partnership that promised to unlock the deepest mysteries of the universe. As the first joint human Lumina exploration vessels prepared to launch, the sentient galaxy held its breath, wondering what discoveries and transformations still lay ahead. The end of this story was just the beginning of a new chapter in the grand cosmic tale, and humanity, with its newfound allies, was ready to help write it.